your observation is correct in terms of the injuries. I mean, the stats are, showing that. I mean, I think we have to see this from two perspectives. One that is probably overwhelmingly now dominant in our sport, and we are not the only sport, is the commercial side, the commercial value that you are trying to increase by, creating longer days duration tournaments or introducing new tournaments to the already congested calendar. I myself not playing nearly as much as I used to play in the full season, so I have the luxury of picking and choosing where I want to play, so I don't get that kind of exposure to this high intensity calendar and schedule like most of the other players. I've seen there was a lot of debate on whether the Masters events, particularly because that was a big change, should be supported by the player, or are the players satisfied with the new format or like extended amount of days? Like me, I was always against it. I think it's commercially, as we said, from that perspective, obviously adds value, but adds value for who? It adds value for the tournament owners mostly, because, one thing I was trying to bring to the attention of the players was that, they have to understand fully the background of this 30-year deal in order to see how they are not actually benefiting as much as they think they are. The additional 3-4 days of the Masters event does generate much more value for the tournament than for the players. And I give you a few examples. For example, if once that was done, every Masters event owner could have, and quite a few of them, could have, and they did upgrade their facilities, build new stadiums. But these stadiums, they are investments that are also going against the prize money and their negotiations with ATP, right? So they are justifying these investments back to the ATP, and ATP, or us, players and tournaments of the ATP organization, get the benefit and the profit of the stadium revenue only for the duration of the tournament, which is less than 2 weeks. But what happens the other 50 weeks is everything is going in the pocket of the stadium owner. So this is just one example. I mean, there's many other underlying reasons why I completely am against and was always against this 30-year deal. The players got the shorter end of the stick, but they wanted that. They pushed for that. I was against it. I was at the point president of the council, but I didn't have enough executive power myself to vote against it, and that's it. And now they have to deal with it. And now I see the likes of Alcaraz and others. They're complaining about the length of the tournaments and being away from home. I understand him. I understand them. I mean, I don't like it too. I think that tennis really needs a reset of some kind on a bigger level. I think that our tours respectively are not functioning well at all. I mean, there's a lot of things that is happening in the backstage, meetings, and relationships are not going in the right direction. Grand Slams are the pillars. Grand Slams are going to always be Grand Slams. They're always going to be the most important tournaments we have in our sport. But respectively, I think the tours have to look into the formats, rules, calendar. There's a lot of complaints from Latin American players that have a shorter season. Latin American players have been for decades producing some of the best players in the world, and they have shorter and shorter seasons, on clay or hardcourt. They have a combination of the two. I feel like we are trying to band aid on everything, you know, just trying to fix something and put this tournament, take the, you know, but what we have to do, in my opinion, if we want this sport to really improve and to be experiencing a long sustaining success in the future, in the next decades, and to be able to compete with the popularity of all the other global sports, we just have to take all of the interest sides in our sport and all of the key players, sit down, let's see what we can do. You know, like I don't see that happening, because what I've been hearing and what I've been seeing is in the last couple of years, there's a lot more conflict within the governing bodies of our sport than there is unity, unfortunately. So yeah, that's a long answer to your question, but you know, essentially, I'm all for innovation and change, because we have to maintain the culture and the tradition of our sport, which I always respected, in history. But we have to, like, how do we get younger audience to like tennis? You know, PTPA did years ago. We did this research and study, and the age of the average tennis fan around the world was 61. With all due respect, you know, like, how do we get younger people to really get hooked on tennis? You know, and we get them to be, you know, interested in tennis for Grand Slams, maybe, and that's it. But they're not going to sit like for 4 hours and 5 hours and watch it every day, you know, like that. It's just not going to happen. It's a short attention span. You know, we have to see what the market is about. You know, how do we get to them? You know, then in my opinion, we have to change the format and the tours, and have the tournaments have shorter matches, more dynamic. You know, be able to have something more interesting and shorter length, because this is too long. You know what I mean? I mean, Grand Slams, that's different, obviously, playing best of 5 and so forth. I have my opinions on that, but I think on the tours, at least, we could play around, and we need to, but it's not happening. So let's see what happens there. Thank you.
I recently interviewed Boris Becker, and he told me how much he would like to come back to Wimbledon one day. I just wondered, what would it mean to you for him to return here?
I actually texted with him before Wimbledon, and I asked him what's the situation, because I didn't know if he has permission to come into UK or not. Unfortunately, still not. So, I mean, I think I'm not the only one that would love to see Boris back to Wimbledon, and to be able to, you know, just be here, be present. You know, he's a legend of our game. He was my ex-coach. Worked with him 3 years during probably my best time of my career, with most success. So, you know, Boris for me is a very dear friend, and I really care about him and his family. So I sincerely hope that he'll be able to be allowed to come back. I mean, he's the youngest ever men's champion, and he has a special connection to this place. So, yeah, I don't know if this can help, but I hope that the authorities will consider that.
Hi Novak. On the match today, you mentioned on court that you found it quite challenging. Could you just expand on what exactly you did find challenging?
Well, challenging in terms of the level of performance and the tennis of Yibing Wu. I mean, I never faced him before. I did my video analysis. I looked at some of the matches he played in prior to Wimbledon. I think he just won one match and lost very early, also in challengers and other tournaments that he played as a lead-up. I mean, I started well, and I liked my chances to maybe win in straights, but then, you know, he just took the tennis to a different level that was really impressive. I mean, serving, returning, like incredibly deep and strong and fast shots that he played from both ends of the court, and from the baseline, forehand and backhand. It was like at one point there was no weakness, really. So, I mean, of course, I dropped my level, but that's also due to his, you know, consistency and just great attacking, aggressive tennis. I was really hanging on the ropes in the fourth. I mean, I probably should have lost that set, to be honest, with the opportunities he had, but managed to find, I guess, the right serve at the right time. And yeah, I was lucky he missed the overhead in the fourth. You know, the match was toe to toe, honestly, like 1 or 2 shots, 1 or 2 points decided the winner. So I'm glad, that I managed to fight and kind of stay focused till the end. And it's one of these matches where you just have to dig deep.
Okay, we're going to switch to Serbian.
Let's do
Okay.
one more.
Ben?
You mentioned PTPA a bit ago, and there's sort of a civil war, it seems like, developing within the PTPA. I've seen the lawsuit that's been filed by some members against other members, and I'm just curious what you make of, obviously, you put a lot of time into that organization, what you make of what's been going on there right now.
Yeah, I mean, PTPA is going through its own transformational period, I think, right now. And I hope for the sake of, not just PTPA as an organization, but for the sake of players, because PTPA originally was founded with an idea of representing 100% players across, rankings, and particularly for lower ranked players and players who are struggling, players whose voices are not heard. And I said this many times, but ATP is always, there's always a conflict within the organization, the way it's structured, because the players and tournaments very oftentimes have different interests and different visions. And that's where we get conflicted a lot. And I was in the council of ATP for many years. I know how the system works. I understand all the players who want to be in a council, who want to make a difference, but you cannot make a difference the way it is formed, the way it is organized, structured. You cannot, as a player, make any difference in the player council of ATP. Full stop. And that's the reason why I have, along with Vasek, co-founded the PTPA with an idea and desire to hopefully get the seat at the table of decision-making table, and this organization to become really the official organization that represents players. And obviously a lot of things has happened in the last several years. The direction of PTPA went in the kind of direction that I did not like. And that's why I stepped out. I'm not excluding or not the possibility of coming back, because I care about it. I think the organization like this needs to coexist with all the other governing bodies in our ecosystem. But let's see what happens. I mean, there's a lot of things happening around that lawsuit, so it's pretty sensitive right now, and I'm obviously observing, following, and we'll see what happens.